Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Electric Uncut. It's been a little while, but I think today's topic is particularly juicy, where we will be exploring the question of scarcity marketing and asking, is it smart or is it stupid? And I thought of this topic while watching the last episode of Shmup Junkie, where he previewed this shmup called Ryzen EX. And as he's going through his video and previewing it, showing screenshots, I thought, this game looks pretty cool, especially since the main ship looks like a Veritech fighter from Robotech. And I'm a big fan of Robotech. I thought, hey, I might just get it just for that reason. But as I learned going throughout the video, no, I will not be playing this game because the game is completely sold out. It is not available digitally. And unless I'm willing to pay the scalpers a huge markup rate, or unless I'm willing to sign up for their newsletter or whatever I need to do, or refresh their store page every single day, I am not going to be getting a copy of this game. And so that really rang some bells in my head, and I thought, doesn't this sound familiar? Have we been down this road a time or two in the world of retro gaming? And I thought, what a great time to make a video on this topic, because it has been something I've been wanting to discuss a very long time. But before I do, I want to take a step back, because I think a lot of people, when you bring this up and you start talking about it, it quickly goes into the realm of moralizing and ethics and is it right, is it wrong? And I think if you want to go somewhere and learn about ethics and morals, I don't think the Electric Underground is the place to be. And so what I want to do is discuss this a little bit more analytically, take a step back and just look at from a business side of things. Is this a smart way to go? Is this a healthy way to go? Is this damaging to the consumer base? Is this actually the right route? Is this the way to fast money? What is going on here? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? Because it is a little bit frustrating, and I think there is a reason why whenever you try and bring these matters up in the comment sections of different videos, when people do engage in scarcity marketing, you'll get some pretty feisty, some pretty hot, spicy replies from people, and you'll see some arguments breaking out and people getting really emotionally invested. And I thought, why is that exactly? Why does scarcity marketing seem to really hit people deep in the soul? And I think there are some real underlying reasons for that, which I want to at least attempt to discuss in this video. And so let's begin by talking about what scarcity marketing is exactly, or how I view it. And so scarcity marketing is not something that is just unique to the world of retro gaming, though I think it is very prevalent in the world of retro gaming, because I think retro gamers are most susceptible to it as compared to other sales tactics. Though it would be funny if some other sales tactics made their way into retro gaming, like flattery. Hey, big boy, I could tell you've been working out a lot recently. I think maybe you should buy my game while you sit down and relax and let those big, strong muscles take a rest. That would be pretty funny. No, I think retro gamers tend to be much more susceptible to the idea of, ooh, this is gonna be here. It's just gonna be here for a little while. I need to get it. I need to get it now. Everyone wants it, but I want it. How am I gonna get it? I think this is something that is very common in the retro gamer mind, not only because of just it being natural human instinct, but I also think gaming itself has done a real good job of training retro gamers to think this way, thanks to companies like Nintendo, for example, but we'll get to that in a minute here. So, like I was saying, examples of scarcity marketing are everywhere once you kind of pay attention to them. For example, sales, Steam summer sales, get them now, hurry. I actually made a video just like this, hurry, the sale's ending. That's scarcity marketing. Limited edition things, oh, this is the special shiny, no one else can have this edition, it has all the extras that everyone wants, but you're gonna get it and no one else is gonna get it, and it's never gonna come around again. This is it. This is the final opportunity. You must buy now. Limited edition. Sold out is another tactic where you do low print runs at first. Everyone wants it. Oh, damn it, it's sold out. Damn it, I want it. It's so bad. Oh, I can't get over it. I just need to have it. But magically, oh wait, here comes the second wave, and the hype builds. Nintendo's, I think, pretty notorious for doing this, especially with their little mini consoles. But now a new innovation from Nintendo that's so diabolical that it's almost impressive, which is the death date for digital sales. You see, the problem with digital products with scarcity marketing is there's not that physical scarcity excuse anymore where you say, well, there's just so many discs in the world. We're gonna run out of discs if we just keep printing them, right? So physically, we just can't make that many discs. I'm sorry. You can't really do that excuse with digital stuff because you can copy it forever, infinitely. Even companies like Nintendo can't quite say that there's limited amounts of digital games, but what they can say is, well, we'll put a death date on this digital game, so you have to get it, and you have to get it now, because when this date rolls around, uh-oh, the game has disappeared. What happened? Someone unplugged the Ethernet cord and just ruined all the code. We'll never be able to release this game again. I'm sorry. These things just happen. Death dates. What a great strategy if you're just looking for people to buy and to buy now. This happened with the Nintendo 3D All-Stars collection. And I don't think it's a coincidence that that collection came out near the end of the fiscal year. I wonder why that is. I think what happened was Nintendo was sitting down there looking at their whatever profits for the year. They're like, we need to get more profits for this fiscal year and we need them right now. And so they turned to the dev team, come up with something. And so they just did the 3D All-Stars collection because they know that's a moneymaker. But I think they also knew, let's put out this collection temporarily because we don't want to put these three main big hitters out all together and that be that. We want to milk them individually, which Nintendo is so talented at. So we'll do this now to get people to buy, but we'll also put a death date on it so that in the future we can re-release them again, but individually, and really milk every single cent that we can out of these titles. Well done, Nintendo. Well done. Well played. I think everyone bought it hook, line, and sinker. Some people said, oh, that's naughty, but they get it nonetheless. But anyway, we'll talk more about Nintendo here in a bit. So let's talk about the advantages from a business side of thing for scarcity marketing. Like I said, the first advantage is you get sales and you get them now because people need to buy and they need to buy now. So that's a great way to get profits going real quick. Like another thing that's really effective with scarcity marketing, and I think this is why it is so prevalent in retro gaming, it creates some built-in marketing in itself within the YouTube ecosystem, where if you put something out and you say, it's scarce, it's not going to be around forever, it's special, YouTubers jump on this because this is juicy topic for YouTubers as well. So it's a nice little feeding frenzy where the person putting out the product gets that advantage of people buying and buying now. And also the YouTuber gets the advantage of, oh, this is a hot topic where people want to pay attention because they want to be informed because they don't want to miss out on the sale. So it helps the YouTuber, it helps the company. What a great marriage. So I think that's another reason why it's so prevalent, is that it has this little built-in marketing mechanism. And I think great examples of this is when they release games on retro consoles because like, oh, this game's coming out to Steam, but it's also coming out on the Dreamcast. And people are like, oh, and then people who want to talk about the Dreamcast, hey, look, there's this game and it's new, it's on the Dreamcast. And that's some nice built-in marketing that you wouldn't get if you just released it on Steam and no one in the world cared other than maybe the small fan base that you have, right? So that's another great advantage of limited editions, limited platforms, is it has that built-in marketing. Another massive advantage of scarcity marketing that we see crop up a lot, especially with stuff like limited run, is that you'll get crossover between audiences that you would never get otherwise. So maybe you release a rare RPG, or maybe you release a rare shmup, and limited run are selling both of these, and you might get some crossover where people who are there for the RPG because it's limited see the limited shmup and they think, oh man, this is limited, I just can't help it, I need to buy it. They've never seeked that game out individually on its own, but because they see the sale, there's a little mechanism that fires off in their consumer brain that says, yes, 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 a deal cannot be passed up, right? A deal this good cannot be passed up. Even if I don't particularly care about the game all that much, I'm guilty of this. Everyone is guilty of this. We're human beings. Of course, we all do this from time to time. We see games on sale on Steam. We're like, screw it, I'll buy it, you know? I think this is just a natural tendency, which is made possible through scarcity marketing. So I think these are the main advantages of scarcity marketing. It motivates people to buy, motivates people to take a look at something they'd never buy otherwise, and it really helps push people over that threshold of will I not or will I. I think a lot of consumers sort of stand on that threshold a lot of time where it's a product they're kind of interested in. They're not fully sure if they're going to commit or not. If you get that sort of extra push of, well, you better get it now because it will never exist ever again, people will say, okay, I'll take the leap, I'll make that decision, there you go. So it does offer that nice push for people who will be on the edge of whether or not they're going to buy. Another thing though that I want to discuss with scarcity marketing before we get into the disadvantages is the question, is all scarcity marketing artificial? Because I think this is something that can get a little bit lost during the conversation, where a lot of the times I'm discussing things that are clearly artificial, right? These are things major from companies or maybe even smaller sellers where these days there's really not that big material wall between creating things that there once was. Even for smaller people, I don't think the problem with selling games, even if you're an indie dev, for example, I have this huge fan base, but I cannot create enough product to get to them. just because of the limitations. That I think is a very rare circumstance. I think the more common circumstance is I have all the material, I can print 5,000 copies of my game if I need to, but I don't have the consumer base to buy those copies, right? I don't have 5,000 people to sell the game to. I think marketing versus having the actual materials available is much more of the issue these days. But I have to say though, there are times where I think scarcity marketing isn't necessarily purely artificial. For example, I currently have a t-shirt on sale for my channel on Amazon, but I'm a little bit dissatisfied with this situation because Amazon takes a pretty massive cut of my t-shirt sales. And I've noticed that you have to sort of bump the price up to even make your money back, right? And so I don't really like the Amazon model and the Teespring model and all that sort of thing. What I'd rather do and what I'm going to do moving forward is perhaps actually buy the shirts, like buy actual shirts and create the actual merch by hand and then sell it, direct to consumer sort of thing. But the problem with there was, okay, now if I'm actually investing in buying the shirts and making them, I need to make sure that there's someone to sell the shirts to. So if I went ahead and did this, I would have to do it and sort of lower print runs, lower orders. I'd have to make sure everyone I'm making these shirts for actually exists, and then I can actually sell it to them. So sometimes not everything is purely just let's manipulate the market. And I think this is another thing that I will say with limited run, where I can understand certain decisions they make about, hey, we do the one big print and then we move on. Because if you think about it, if they're going through and trying to reprint and like do special orders for stuff they've already done before, while they don't have that physical limitation, maybe they have contractual limitations, who knows, but let's say put the contracts out of it. Let's say they just, for instance, had Battle Garega, and I come along 2 years after the sale and said, hey, I want Battle Garega, will you print another copy? The problem is, as their catalog keeps growing and growing, just the manpower behind servicing all those old copies and reprinting them and all that sort of stuff, I could see why that would become a nightmare very quickly. So I do understand in that degree why limited run tends to do just this one big print and sell it and sends it out. However, what I think is interesting though is I would think that it would make sense from time to time of just doing like second prints or third prints if the game is that popular, and if they did a little poll on their site or their newsletter, said, okay, you all got your first print, there's still a lot of demand, people are still asking for it, let's do a second print, let's do a third print. I'm not aware of if limited run has ever done this. I do know that a lot of my subscribers are pretty familiar with limited run, and so they can leave a comment, do limited run do this or not? Do they do second prints or do they not? But what I think ends up happening with this scarcity marketing is, let's talk about some of the disadvantages, even from just a business side of things. The first one, the most obvious one, is scalping. And people will say, oh, well, if people are just nice, if people just behave themselves, we'd all go about our business and everything would be hunky-dory. I think this is an incorrect way to view it, because I think scalping is a natural consequence of this business strategy. So if you're going to engage in scarcity marketing, you're going to get scalping. I think they're just hand in hand. They're just going to happen. I'm sure there's times where it doesn't, but there's so many times that it does. I think it's pretty hard to refute. Scalping is going to happen. So that's a huge disadvantage of doing scarcity marketing, especially artificially, because what ends up happening is that your consumer base is going to get beat around a little bit. Maybe the scalping doesn't affect you all that much, but it does affect your consumer base, where the people who, they're on vacation, they weren't paying attention, they have other things to do with their life. They didn't see that, oh my gosh, Battle Garega came out, but now they want it, but it's no longer available. Now they got to engage in scalping and feed the scalpers. And I think that, that is a problem. And the part about it that gets a little bit concerning is there is a real possibility. Now, I'm not saying people actually engage in this or not. I'm just saying there is the very real possibility of a company doing this. They do the print run, but they put some copies aside. Then they sell out, but they have these 100 extra copies. Nothing preventing them from then scalping their own products and reselling it. And I'm not aware of anyone doing this directly or anything like that, but I'm saying that the possibility is definitely there, and I think that is just something that is a little bit concerning when it comes to scalping. Another problem of scarcity marketing that I thought was really interesting, I was reading a paper on this, is aggression. And this may not seem that big of a deal in the world of the digital age, right? So the paper I was reading was talking about aggression in physical stores, so like Black Friday, where people are stomped to death and all that sort of stuff. It was saying that this scarcity marketing, it has ties to making your fan base more aggressive because they see their fellow consumers as enemies, right? Because they're trying to get the gold, but here are these other people coming in for the gold. They need to get out of the way. So it would be interesting to do some more studies, but I think it's not a coincidence that certain fan bases who tend to be under the constant heel of scarcity marketing, such as Nintendo fans, tend to be pretty aggressive towards other people. And I think this is another reason why when you bring up this topic of limited run or Nintendo or all these different companies, you can get some real aggressive replies. And I don't think that's just a coincidence. And I don't think it's, oh, because these people have no lives or that they're flawed human beings. I think what it is that the actual decision of engaging in scarcity marketing, it kind of instills that into your fan base. So that's something to be aware of, especially if you're a creator yourself, or maybe you're putting out a shmup. You're actually the person who created the shmup. You're not just the vendor, right? And you're putting out in limited editions. You're putting it out in scarcity that other people can't play, but only the special people who are able to get it on time can play. That can foster some real aggression and it can actually turn to people having ill will towards your company. I tend to have this sort of feeling towards Nintendo a lot of the time because I don't like the business tactic that they engage in, and it builds sort of a resentment. And that's why I think you can get real polarized reactions to companies like Nintendo, because you either have people who aggressively defend them because they've sort of taken part in this scarcity marketing, or you get the people who stand outside it and they're annoyed and they get critical, and that's how you get all the fun little fights online that we get for Nintendo. I think that would be something really interesting to follow up on as far as companies that take part in scarcity marketing. How toxic is their fan base? Is there a correlation there or not? Even when you watch TV shows, there's always kind of funny things about this where the girls go to a dress shop or whatever and the dress is on sale, then they start slapping each other around for it. Kind of a classic gag. But I think that's rooted in the underlying truth of scarcity marketing. And the last big disadvantage of scarcity marketing that I want to discuss from the seller side, so not just for your fan base, is that your products can be seen as gimmicks in the end. Because I think there's a fundamental question consumers will start to ask of you, which is, why are you engaging in scarcity marketing in the first place? Like I said, I think in some cases you can justify, well, I literally have only a certain amount of shirts and I need to physically make them and send them to you. So that would make sense, right? But then there's other times where you can say, like with Nintendo, is there really a good reason for a lot of things they do? Do they really need to delist their game from their shop a year later? Is that something that really needs to happen? Why are you artificially preventing people from buying it? It doesn't make sense to you as the seller, right? It doesn't make sense where you have a game, a lot of people want to buy it, but you're only going to sell a certain amount of it. Is it because you're having some kind of physical inability to meet the consumer demand? Or is it that you want to change the perception of the consumer demand and to increase it by making people feel that they must buy and they must buy now, sort of thing? When it comes to games especially, I don't think it's great to make them the products of scarcity, because how are you going to build up a fan base around your game? And also think about it longevity wise. People are going to start to write off what you produce in the future because of what you've done in the past. So you release a game on the Switch that's limited, that only a certain amount of people can get, and you announce your next game. The immediate thought that's going to come to my mind is, oh, fun, now we get to do another rat race to try and get the game, where now we have to sit around and refresh the page, fight the bots, pay the scalpers. You are adding this whole negative experience in association with your brand that people don't want to engage in. Now, there's people who will engage in it, but I think overall it would be interesting to see if your brand's sort of credibility is growing or decreasing when you're doing this. And for me personally, I don't really like the idea of being pushed into supporting products for a number of reasons, not just scarcity. To me, it's almost like a romantic relationship, right? Where what I find attractive is confidence. Here I am. I'm going to be here. If you want me, come buy me. If not, not my problem. There's a lot of other people who want me. I like that sort of product and that sort of product release. And so for me, while I think scarcity marketing clearly works in some places and has a lot of advantages, I don't think that it's as easy and simple as to just copy and paste it and you're going to work. I think in the field of this type of marketing, I don't think anyone is going to do a better job at it probably anytime soon than Limited Run. They seem to just really understand how this business model works and seem to execute it pretty well. So I have nothing really against them in that regard or anything like that. I do think it's funny how the branding of the competitors pop up. Like there's another one called like Strictly Limited Games. Notice Strictly Limited, limited run. I think it would be funny if someone released not so limited games. You'll get it eventually games. Patience is a virtue games. I think that would be interesting. I don't think it would be as effective, but it would be kind of refreshing anyway. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed this topic. If you're someone who's really into these types of releases and all that sort of thing, try not to be too offended. I'm not trying to moralize and say these companies are evil or anything like that. I just think it's not a business practice that I'm particularly fond of, and I think a lot of people aren't fond of it. But you don't really hear from those people because if you try and engage in conversation around these topics, you can get pretty heated pretty quickly. So thanks so much, and adios everyone. So shout outs to the $5 patrons: 100, 72 PCT Water, Ukshay Wadker, Dingo, Andy Capt, Another Joe, Anthony A, Aaron Solis, Ben, Borgie 22, Brian Reboot, Brian Shiver, Chris Yuzefovich, Chronic Burnout 3, Corio, CRC Error, Danielle Savage, Darren Griffin, Delta Tango 6, Disco Stas Leia, DJ 420 Praise It, Entropy, Eric H, Frank Carter, Full Set, Retro Schmupper, Geriatric Donmaku, Gu Donmaku, Hausu, Ilya, Kiwi, JLab, JBRPG, Joe Angelo, John Kelly, Gameboy Guru, K, K2, Kikuman 589, Larridge, Malaise, Mark Toms, Maz, Minung, Mechalin, Queen Charlene, Nathaniel Davis, and Electron, Neon Dagger Games, Okla Kugels, Philip Mason, Portal 63, Radocat, Raul, Real Skeen, Shane Sinsansky, Sketchy Raccoon, SLW, The Boot Rex, The Real Ikuzo, TRM, Sugumo, Ishi, Plasmo, and Utakaya. Thanks for watching.